I took a DNA test online. I'm now convinced I'm married to my sister. I've been married to my beautiful wife for 4 years now, and I've never been happier. However, recent findings have been making me think there's something seriously wrong with this marriage. For most of my life, I've been miserable, mostly due to my insufferable parents making my life hell. They were far beyond just being strict. They treated me more like a slave, beating me if I missed a speck of dirt while cleaning, or returned home a minute past curfew. It had always felt like there was something deeper separating my parents and me in some way, and it seemed like they had no interest in loving me. That's why when they announced to me that I would be participating in an arranged marriage on my 21st birthday, I knew my life was over. I'd accepted my fate by this point, that my life would forever be ruined by my disgusting parents. At least that's what I thought. I wasn't allowed to see her until the wedding day, so when that dreaded day finally came round, I waited anxiously, expecting to see an ugly hog of a human walk up the aisle. My parents seemed to hate me, so it would make sense for them to pick the ugliest human in the world for me to marry. I glared around the room, looking at unfamiliar faces in every seat, people who I assumed were my relatives. I'd never met anyone from my family before, since my parents refused to let me know anything about them, as if they were hiding something. That was when I heard footsteps coming from the doors down the aisle. You can imagine my surprise when I saw the most beautiful, angelic girl elegantly walk towards my direction. At that moment, my smile wasn't the only thing that started rising. Maybe my parents really did love me. Maybe I just didn't understand them. I soon realized I was so wrong. I'd finally found some normality in the world when I moved in with her. She was sweet, funny, and most of all, understanding of my dysfunctional family. My life was finally perfect. It still made no sense to me that my parents gave me a beautiful woman to marry. There was always something off about it, but I didn't stop to question it. I wanted to keep my new perfect life, but I just felt like there was something really wrong. That's when stuff started to get a lot weirder. Just a week after our marriage, my parents constantly asked me when we planned to have kids. Being only 21, I didn't feel ready yet, and I was extremely surprised that my parents wanted to see any more children, considering how they treated me through my whole childhood. Despite standing my ground and telling them I wasn't ready, they persisted, harassing my wife and I daily. I realized there was no chance of reasoning with them. I knew nothing about my parents or my childhood, and they would never tell me anything. Something was wrong with them, and I needed to find out what. So after a weak attempt of scavenging my parents' house for clues and finding nothing about their history, I had one final option. If I took a DNA test, I might finally be able to meet some relatives and ask what the hell is up with my parents. I went home that day and declared to my wife that I was going to take a DNA test to prove my skepticism about being adopted. I expected my wife to be on board with this, as she's also had her fair share of bad experiences with my parents. Instead, to my surprise, she urged me to rethink going through with it. She insisted I was going way overboard with all of this, and that I should just leave my parents in the past. DNA tests are expensive, she told me, and weren't something that was worth spending money on at the moment. After all, we had to start being more financially smart if we were going to bring kids into the world. She looked flustered, as if she was hiding something. To make my wife happy, I agreed to not entertain the idea any further, but had no intention of actually throwing away the plan. That night, I bought a DNA kit through Ancestry. At this point, I was curious if I was even really related to my parents. I just wanted some sort of clarity. The whole process took over 8 weeks. A month after sending my DNA kit for testing and hearing nothing back, I assumed it had gotten lost and decided to give up on the whole idea. I just have to get used to the fact that I was the spawn of 2 devilish individuals. However, when I finally got an email from my Ancestry saying my results were in, my heart skipped a beat in my chest, ecstatic that I finally had my answers. I would know once and for all if my whole life was a lie. However, nothing could have prepared me for the truth. After viewing the results in database, I immediately noticed a huge red flag showing an inheritable illness from my parents. Apparently, both of my parents had some sort of rare treatable condition that I wasn't aware of. However, as I scrolled down on the results page to the relatives section, I saw something that left me disgusted for the rest of my life. I was related to the one person I loved more than anything in the world. My wife. She was my sister. I didn't know what to do. For the next few hours, all I could do was vomit in my bathroom while I refreshed the database over and over again on my laptop, hoping it was some sort of mistake. But nothing changed. I had to confront her, and I had to do it now. I staggered to our bedroom where I found her sitting on the bed, looking somber. But before I could speak, she turned around her laptop to reveal the email that I had just been reading on my phone, and lifted up her other hand to reveal a positive pregnancy test. My heart sank. "I'm sorry," she said menacingly, her voice void of any emotion. In a blind rage, I scoured the room for the nearest object I could find to vent my frustration. My hands grabbed a screwdriver from the nightstand drawer where I had been fixing a broken lamp just a day before. My grip tightened around it, and without thinking, I lunged at her. Pure rage took over my body. She swiftly moved, avoiding my initial attack, and cried out, "If you kill me, you kill your own child too!" I froze in my tracks, letting the reality of her words wash over me. My chest heaved, a mixture of fury, confusion, and despair swirling inside me. "What is happening? Why?" I choked out, tears streaming down my face. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. "Our parents," she hesitated, her voice trembling. "The only way to cure their illness is with stem cells. They need genetically matching stem cells if we want to save their lives." I sank to my knees, feeling defeated and sickened. It all became clear. The insistent urge for us to have a child, the secretive behavior, the arranged marriage, everything. My parents' desperate attempt to save their own lives had destroyed mine. They needed my own child for their gain. I'm so sorry, I didn't know any other way.